The previous part of this what if dealt with Hinata being the Jinchuriki of Kurama instead of Naruto. This ended up happening due to Obito chickening out after the birth of Naruto, refusing to kill his mentor and the woman he looked up to the most. When Black Zetsu took it upon himself to capture the Nine Tails, he was defeated and destroyed by Hiashi Hyuga. In a moment of truth, Hizashi, the father of Neji, sacrificed his life to seal the beast into the infant Hinata. From there, life grew harder for the heiress. And while Naruto was living alone, his life was fairly normal. Because of her having a tailed beast though, Hinata was put on Team 7, along with Neji replacing Sakura and Sasuke. I assume Sasuke ends up on Team Guy, with Sakura on Team Kurenai. To be honest, that concept alone is enough to write a whole what if on. What if Rock Lee were the main character? But let's stay focused on the video at hand. What if Hinata had a tailed beast? Part 2. Strap yourselves in and let's get going. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Seriously, Naruto, how could you? Neji asked. The sun was up and the temperature was hot and muggy. As the sound of insects chirping could be heard, they all sat out in the middle of nowhere. Well, everyone was sitting but Naruto. Naruto was attached to a post. Come on guys, I was hungry. You were greedy, Neji responded. You knew that we wouldn't catch Kakashi-sensei and decided to skip out on the punishment that he was going to give us. But what's even worse than that, you tried to eat mine and Lady Hinata's bento boxes as well. Have you no shame at all? It's okay, Neji, Hinata said. It isn't. He deserves what he's gotten and more. I say leave him tied here all night. Teach him to steal everyone's food. Hinata sighed. She looked to Naruto. He was sweating and looked a little weak. She was a bit worried about him. They were going to continue their test after this, but with his hunger, dehydration, and the oppressive nature of the summer sun, she worried Naruto might not make it through the test. Picking up some of the food she had with her, she presented it to Naruto. Lady Hinata, stop, Neji shouted at her. If you do that, you'll be disobeying Kakashi-sensei's will. You'll be disqualified. I don't really care, Neji. We can't let Naruto just continue like this. I'm afraid he'll get sick. Neji scoffed. Fine, stifle your career. Just don't get in the way of mine. Suddenly, Naruto's stomach growled loudly. Neji heard it and attempted to pay no attention. Naruto's stomach growled even louder the second time. As it happened, Neji's mind was filled with thoughts, his mind running wild at the knowledge of Naruto's upbringing as an orphan, which made Neji worry he wasn't getting fed properly. Damn it. Neji turned around and began feeding Naruto as well. You better remember, I'm not doing this because I like you. I'm doing this because I don't want you to get sick and die. Naruto accepted some food from the both of them. For Naruto, it was perhaps the best thing he had ever tasted, or so it seemed in the moment. Naruto was so hungry that even if you presented him with pure leather, it would be like 5-star cuisine. Of course, Kakashi runs out after them in a mockingly angry way. What do you think you're doing? He demanded. Hinata looked up. I'm sorry, Kakashi-sensei. I know orders are orders, and we have no right to break them. But Naruto was hungry, and we can't just let him suffer like this. If you must fail us, then we deserve it. But we have to let him eat. I'm afraid he won't make it to the end of the test if we don't. Kakashi smiled. You guys really are something else. I'll pass you. Neji was confused. Wait, what? Why? We didn't even get your stupid bells. Kakashi looked over. It was never about that, Neji. It was to test the levels of your teamwork. You all showed that you were willing to pay the price to help your friend. Orders are important, but it's this compassion that serves as the glue of the team. And in the middle of a war, there's nothing more important than cohesion. Orders don't matter if the team is too dead to complete them. He cut Naruto free. Instead of feeding him your lunches, why don't we all just go out and get something? Everyone was in agreement. This was the start of something special. A team worth being in. After having lunch, Kakashi let them go for the rest of the day. Neji went his own way, and Hinata decided to walk home with Naruto. As they got to the small apartment, Naruto offered to let her inside. She agreed. Entering the apartment, Hinata's nose began to burn. It smelled like, well, Naruto. That was if Naruto didn't shower. The smell of trash having not been taken out in a while, the smell of food accidentally left out on the counter, dirty clothes that had been worn 2 or 12 days longer than they should have been left scattered around. Mikasa e Tsukasa. To be honest, Hinata was a little nervous, but she gathered the courage. Today she had to get over some of the nervousness and awkwardness, and she knew that deep down it was still there. The shyness. She needed to get used to Naruto's presence, so she decided that the best thing to do was spend a little time with him. It would help her get used to his presence. She was also beginning to hope that maybe this flame was just a passing fancy and that she didn't really like him, or that by looking at his home and seeing how messy he was, that maybe she'd be turned off the desire for a relationship with him. Naruto turned on the television but left it muted. Hinata was surprised by this. Was Naruto aware of the manners he was displaying, or was this just him being considerate? Turning on the television but leaving it muted was a host's way of offering freedom of choice of entertainment to the guest, but allowed them to remain the focus of the visit by leaving it muted as to make whatever they wanted to say or do the priority. "I'm gonna go change into something a little more comfortable," he said as he went to his room. As he did, Hinata looked around the apartment. She lifted an old shirt that smelled like death. Ew. She tossed it onto the bin and found herself picking up the rest of the clothes nearby, but why stop there? She put the contents of the bin into the washer and added detergent. Starting a load, she continued her survey of the apartment and ended up cleaning out the rotten food that had been left out and began to wash the dishes. Naruto came out of the room wearing a new set of casual clothes. Hinata, what are you doing?" he asked. She looked back. "Oh, I was just..." She looked around and realized that she had accidentally started cleaning his apartment. He walked over. "You don't have to do any of this stuff, Hinata. You're a guest. I'll do it myself." She looked at the dishes. It'll just be easier if I do it now. I already started." "Well, can I help?" Naruto asked. "It's the least I can do. You really shouldn't be doing this anyway." Hinata smiled. She began washing the plates before handing them to Naruto. Naruto would then rinse them and put them on the rack. Naruto, more than once, would shake out a cup or something and either get water everywhere or accidentally throw it back into the sink, sending water everywhere. Hinata would laugh and splash some water back at him. Naruto and Hinata, now both giggling, would continue to play with each other as they finished their task. "Now that we're done with chores, do you want to sit on the couch and talk? Maybe watch some TV?" Hinata nodded. She sat down as Naruto then presented her with a plate of sandwich cookies. He offered her some milk to drink, though Hinata wasn't certain that it was fresh. One whiff, and she could tell that it was a little spoiled. Considering that Naruto was drinking it, she didn't want to be rude, so she drank it too. "Yep, I'm gonna be hurting tonight," Hinata said as she thought she detected a curdle going down her throat. The two of them talked. "So what's it like living by yourself? Most kids dream of having an apartment all to themselves." Naruto thought about it. "It's pretty cool. Plenty of privacy, I can do as I please, when I please, no bedtime, no rules." Naruto's face began to grow somber. "You know, some kids don't realize how important those rules are." "What do you mean?" Hinata asked. "I tried living without those rules, but it's not sustainable. Chores have to be done, or, well, you see what happens. You have to go to sleep at night, or the morning sucks, and all the stuff parents normally tell you to do. Even if you get the chance not to do them, you still have to, because they have to be done, or things aren't sustainable. Even still, I have to set rules for myself. Living in an apartment with rules, the only thing I'm really missing is a couple people to tell me I did a good job." Hinata had never thought about it before. She had always seen the chores her father told her to do as unnecessary. Why did she have to have a strict bedtime? Why did she have to clean her room or eat her vegetables? Looking at what it took to survive, the answers were clear. Her father wasn't making her do anything, he was merely informing her of the things life was making her do. Things none of them had a choice but to do. And now that she had viewed Naruto's life a little bit, she realized why it was that parents always forced kids to do the same things. Responsibility. What was responsibility, and what were you being responsible for? It made sense to her. It was responsibility toward yourself, toward your own well-being, your own life, taking care of yourself. Naruto still had to do the things that she did. The only difference was that he was alone, nobody to commend him, guide him, or love him. She suddenly began to cry. Naruto was startled. "What? What happened? What did I do?" he asked. She wiped her tears and put her hand out to calm him. "I'm sorry, Naruto. I didn't mean to startle you. I was just thinking about what you were saying. I'm sorry." "Don't apologize, Hinata. You didn't do anything wrong." Naruto saw her still upset. He looked at the clock. "You know, it's still pretty early. Do you think you'd want to watch a movie?" Hinata wiped her eyes. "Yeah, so long as I'm home before the sun completely sets." Naruto smiled. "Cool, let's watch one then." After the movie ended, she decided it was time to go. She walked to the door and opened it, stepping outside. Naruto smiled as he stood there. "It's not often that I get to entertain guests. I hope you'll forgive my messiness." Hinata giggled. "People always ask to be pardoned for having a messy home, but homes are supposed to be a little messy. That's what makes them home." Naruto scratched the back of his head with a bit of a chuckle. "Well, anyways, thanks for staying with me. It really made the day feel special." Hinata nodded. "It made my day feel special too." She looked back and saw the sun on its way to the horizon. "Well, I better be on my way home." She turned around and began to walk away. As she made her way down the stairs, she thought to herself and began to reevaluate her relationship with Naruto. She had hoped to make it less awkward and prove that her attraction was false, but she was even more in love with him now than she had ever been. She returned home as the sun dropped down behind the horizon. "Welcome back, Hinata. Neji said you were spending time at a friend's house?" Hiashi asked. "Yeah, Naruto's our teammate, and he doesn't have anyone at home to spend time with, so we watched a movie." Hiashi kissed his daughter's forehead. Such a kind and considerate daughter I've been blessed with. Well, if you're hungry, we still have some food left. After that, you can get ready for bed. I know today was long and strenuous. Hinata smiled. Yes, father. She went, got herself something to eat, and cleaned up before heading to bed. She looked out her window at the stars in the sky and smiled. Her thoughts were continually on Naruto, how kind and sweet he was, how much fun he was, all the things she and he did that day. She began wondering when would be too soon to do it all again. She giggled silently to herself. Her stomach let out a burbling sound. Her smiling face began to show a sign of distress, even if only lightly. I was wondering when that milk would hit. The day after, she was still quite a bit tired from spending most of the night in the bathroom, but as a shinobi, she had a duty to fulfill, even if that meant doing it while she was tired. Despite her nearly falling asleep while on the job, Naruto was acting like nothing ever happened. What's wrong with you, Hinata? He asked. She looked at him. Oh, just a stomachache. Something I ate. You're not feeling it? Naruto shook his head. She smiled. Good. Deep down, though, she wasn't that surprised. Figures. He probably drinks spoiled milk exclusively. His stomach's just built up an immunity to whatever bacteria's in that stuff or something. About halfway through the day, Kakashi couldn't help but chuckle to see Naruto and Hinata both sitting against a tree taking a nap. Hinata was taking one because she hadn't slept well, and Naruto simply because he was bored out of his gourd. Genin be like, Kakashi said as he watched. Turning to see Neji, he saw him practicing the gentle fist. Kakashi looked over their itinerary. Frankly, they had sufficiently completed all of their daily goals. He walked over to Naruto and Hinata and woke them. Hey. They looked up. Oh, sorry, Kakashi-sensei, I couldn't keep my eyes open any longer, Hinata said. Kakashi understood. Well, thankfully today's requirements are finished. I can let you guys go early, but I do have special orders for you two. What are they? Naruto asked. Kakashi knelt down and looked at them both seriously. Go to bed early tonight. Tomorrow I want a fresh team. Hinata nodded. I was fresh today, Naruto said. I would still be fresh if we did anything more than just cleaning gum out of the bottom of the benches. This isn't exactly how I saw my path to Hokage starting, you know? Journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, Naruto, Kakashi said. Regardless, I still want you guys to stay in the habit of early to bed. According to unnamed sources, it should make you healthy, wealthy, and wise. I think it's a load of crap, Naruto said. If sleeping could make you money, I'd spend half my life asleep. You do, Neji said. How long do you think you normally spend asleep, nitwit? Technically, it's 1/3 of your life, Kakashi said, but who's counting? Now get your rears home and be ready for tomorrow. The night flew by and the morning came. They went to see the Hokage as they did regularly to receive their missions. But as the elderly Hiruzen was getting their missions ready, Naruto let slip that he was unsatisfied about the way his missions were going. When Hiruzen inquired about this, Naruto said that he wanted something more fun, with more action. And so Hiruzen thought it was a good idea to give them an escort mission to the Land of Waves. Well, as that mission went along, it became obvious that it was more than just a mission to protect a lone old man from thieves. No, it became a mission to protect him from hired assassins. The first attack was from the Demon Brothers. All in all, Neji was able to detect them before they even attacked, thanks to his Byakugan and Shinobi intuition. And when they did attack, they were defeated before anyone else even noticed, much to the impression of Kakashi. And when Zabuza showed up, guess who was the one who saved Kakashi all by himself? Neji. You see, Neji knew that he didn't scale to Zabuza. All he had to do was avoid that sword and get the guy to stop touching the water prison, which wasn't as hard as it seemed, as Zabuza was heavily handicapped by holding that prison. All Neji needed to do was get in close enough to touch one Tenketsu, which upon activation caused Zabuza's arm to drop, freeing Kakashi. This left Kakashi very impressed. But as you know, early Kakashi can hardly blink with his Sharingan active without passing out, while later he's spamming Kamui like it's nothing. I guess he gained more control, or perhaps he was just out of practice. Because we know he's used it plenty before when he was in the Anbu. Either way, Kakashi needs a nap, so they go to Tezuna's house. Normally at this point, Kakashi informs Team 7 that he's not going to let them slack while he's resting and makes them work on chakra control. I suppose he does this here too, but the issue with this is that Hyugas naturally have excellent chakra control. It's one of the cornerstones of their gentle fist technique. So really this becomes a catch-up session for Naruto, who is pretty much the only one in the group who can't climb vertical structures. This doesn't mean that Neji doesn't train, because he does, just not as intensely as Naruto. Hinata mostly spends her time coaching Naruto and teaching him how to do the things she already knows how to do. Naruto just seems to be going all night long, even when Hinata is asleep, and this results in Naruto being too tired to get up in the morning to help. Kakashi lets him sleep, believing that he won't be required to help, and in truth, it's logical thinking. After all, the biggest threats would likely be grunts that if Naruto could somehow handle them, Kakashi could as well. And if it were anyone greater, like Zabuza, it would be too dangerous for him and Kakashi would probably keep him back anyway. So whether he was there or not, his presence wouldn't be required. And even if one assumed Kakashi would need help on multiple fronts, Neji was plenty enough to pick up the slack. And so when they got to the bridge, they'd just wait around, keeping their eyes open just in case trouble began to brew. And honestly, having two Hyugas was a perfect thing for this particular situation, as they tended to keep a 360-degree field of vision, which allowed for them to see everything coming at once. This meant that Neji was the first to see Haku and Zabuza return. Zabuza would naturally fight Kakashi, while Haku would face off against Neji, particularly using his demon mirroring ice crystals technique. Neji was not to be underestimated though. He was a prodigy of his generation, and his Byakugan and speed were more than up for the challenge. Neji was able to calculate everything, from the direction of the Senbon to which of the mirrors held the real Haku. The biggest issue of all, though, was that even though he could see the real Haku, he couldn't strike him as he moved between the other mirrors. One other thing that Neji didn't properly prepare for was the concept that Naruto would throw himself into the trap. Naruto arrived late, but he did arrive. Seeing the battle taking place, Naruto jumped into the trap to help save Neji, not yet aware that Neji was doing just fine on his own. Standing back to back with him, Naruto attempted to shield him from the attacks that would be blindsiding him. This didn't please Neji though. "You idiot, I can't be blindsided. I don't have any blind spots to take advantage of." "Wait, really?" Naruto asked. "I'm a Hyuga. My Byakugan lets me see everything around me." Neji was now trying to defend Naruto as much as he was trying to defend himself, and that was opening Neji up for attacks and slowing him down. Hinata ran up to the edge of the attack. "Neji, tell me what to do." "You need to find a way to melt these mirrors. They all need to be destroyed at once or it won't work." Hinata looked around. "That can only be done with an AoE jutsu from the center of the technique." As Neji slowed down, Naruto had to start picking up the slack. He attempted to protect Neji. Haku would throw the Senbon at Neji, ready to finish him off, but Naruto would take the shot for him, being impaled in the throat. Gagging and gurgling on his own blood, Naruto fell to the ground and began to suffocate. Hinata saw this and cried out for him. She too jumped into the trap. Now all of Team 7 minus Kakashi were in the middle of the demonic mirroring ice crystals technique. Hinata raced to Naruto's side as Neji was fuming. "Now you're in here as well? You're all crazy. You're gonna get me killed." He began attempting to defend Hinata, circling around her, pushing his body to its limits. Hinata held Naruto in her arms. She pulled the Senbon from his throat. Naruto gurgled a bit as she held him. He looked like he was about to pass out, and when he did, Hinata panicked. Fear and anger rushed through her system and caused her to tap in deeply with her Nine Tails chakra. Suddenly, she let out a burst of heat that began to melt the mirrors. Neji, seeing the real Haku in the mirror, knew that he had nowhere else to go. He would rush the mirror and shatter it, putting Haku on the defensive. "Throwing Senbon at our Tenketsu. Your ability to use the chakra network against us is almost reminiscent of a Hyuga." Neji managed to smash Haku's mask. "What? No Byakugan?" Neji asked. It was inconceivable to Neji to believe that a normal shinobi had the capacity to do what he could only describe as something like the gentle fist against them when they had no Byakugan. "How did you manage to do this?" Neji asked. Haku then spoke. "Plenty of practice, and a lot of guessing. I narrowed down the general locations of each Tenketsu with math. I've studied the human body and its various nerves and chakra points. I guess roughly based on your body type. I then use a Senbon to tap it when I can't get close enough." Neji circled around Haku. "And if you're up close and personal?" Haku thought about it. "I could easily use the chakra in my hands to clog a Tenketsu like the Hyuga." Neji seemed as if he couldn't believe it. There was no way. "If so, then prove it," Neji said as he went on the offensive. Haku would knock back most of his attacks and would retaliate. There were bursts of chakra coming from his hands, the same as came from Neji's. This boy was mimicking the gentle fist style, as if he were taught it by the Hyuga. He was every bit the genius Neji was, perhaps even more so, but as each attack came in, their tempo began to increase until one could hardly see the attacks coming. Neji would fake an attack, causing Haku to block, but before the attack struck, Neji jabbed out and tapped a Tenketsu in the boy's solar plexus. Doing so caused all subsequent chakra pathways to suddenly shut down. Haku looked at him, surprised for a moment before falling back, his own body suffocating in a way different from Naruto. Instead of it being oxygen deprivation, it was chakra deprivation. The boy soon passed out and perished. All the while, Kakashi and Zabuza's battle was reaching its climax, and Kakashi's victory was all but assured. Hinata, on the other hand, knelt there by Naruto, who was already passed out. He was dying and she didn't know what to do. She put her hand on Naruto's throat to catch the blood and hopefully start the clotting process. In her head, she cried out a silent but passionate prayer. As she continued to try to stop the bleeding, her chakra began to swirl around her hand and over the wound, causing a quick spark of regeneration which healed him. Hinata was shocked. Naruto? He opened his eyes. Hinata. At about that time, Gato's men were arriving, but that wasn't it only. The other villagers and bridge workers took up arms, intent to not let Gato control them anymore, and as the two opposing parties clashed, the battle began to draw to a close. The bridge was secure, Naruto was okay. Kakashi had defeated Zabuza and was now nearby to his squad. With Gato and his men driven off, security provided, and the bridge allowed to be created, their mission was complete. Taking one more day to rest at Tezuna's home, they all headed back to the village. Upon returning, they realized that they weren't the only ones entering. The Chunin exams were here, and various villages had sent their genin to take part. That being said, after debriefing, Kakashi would ask Hiruzen if he could let his team take the exams. "Are you sure that's wise?" Hiruzen asked. "They're still young and inexperienced." "Yes, they're young, but was I any different? They've displayed the necessary skills to make it as Chunin, so can they join?" Hiruzen thought about it. "All right, fine, I'll allow it." Due to this, Kurenai and Asuma would decide to send their students on the exam as well. After signing up, Team 7 prepared. The first test was a written one, and by virtue of their Byakugan, Hinata and Neji passed with flying colors, and Naruto passed with gutsiness. After this came the Forest of Death. Team 7 was presented with an Earth Scroll, which they needed to supplement with a Heaven Scroll. Finding one wasn't super hard for Neji, who possessed a form of X-ray vision. After finding the scroll, they made their way to the building at the center where they completed their test in near record time, being beaten only by the Sand siblings. While waiting, they overheard that there might have been some interference by an unknown faction, likely Orochimaru. Neji had heard the name before, but couldn't place who he was. It was then revealed that one of the students, a boy named Sasuke Uchiha, was the target. Not much was released about the situation, but due to their proximity and their Byakugan, they could tell that Sasuke had been planted with a curse mark. "What's going on?" Hinata asked. Neji shrugged. "Whatever it is, it's serious." After this was the exhibition matches. The preliminary rounds were set up at random, which resulted in Naruto facing Kiba Inuzuka and actually managing to beat him. The match for Hinata, though, was sadly against Neji, who knew that he couldn't hold back. That was fine, though, as Hinata told him not to hold back. The two fought against each other, but in the end, it was Neji who won. Ending up in the infirmary thereafter, she was visited by Neji and Naruto. "My apologies, Lady Hinata. I hope I didn't harm you too badly." "It's fine," she told him. "It was one of the most exhilarating battles of my life. Even though I lost, I still had a lot of fun attempting to scale up to you, Neji." Neji smiled. Naruto stood there. "Now we get a month off to train for the next rounds." "Correction, you guys get a month off to train," Hinata said. "I'm just going to enjoy a month of peace and quiet," she said. Neji laughed. "Yeah, sure. No, you're going to be training too. With me. I don't want you getting soft, Lady Hinata. I won't always be there to protect you, so you need to be able to protect yourself. Stagnation at this point will get you killed. If we become Chunin, we'll be taking on greater missions, which means more danger. You need to be prepared for that." Hinata nodded. "All right, I get it. And so for the next month, they trained. The finals came around, and the first match was between Naruto and Neji, which in truth was an unlucky matchup for Naruto, who did get smoked by Neji. After this came Sasuke v Gaara. Sasuke was unable to penetrate the sand barrier Gaara had made, though, and this led to his defeat. But to everyone's surprise, the moment that Gaara won, a smoke grenade went off in the Hokage's viewing box. It was then that Gaara put himself to sleep and awakened the One Tail. Gaara began to stomp around. Jiraiya was indeed in the village, as was Gamabunta, but what was worse was that he was too busy fighting Orochimaru's snake summons to do anything about the One Tails. Hinata was the only one who could really do anything. She was afraid of using its power, though, as she knew that doing so would possibly leave her out of control. It could even possibly kill her. In the end, it took Kakashi to stop the One Tail, forcing him to cast it under Genjutsu with his Mangekyo Sharingan. Despite having been taken by surprise, Konoha turned the tide of battle, but in the process, Hiruzen perished. Jiraiya attempted to recruit Tsunade, but this resulted in failure, after she was killed by Kabuto, who used her fear of blood to startle her and sever her heart muscles, as well as the chakra pathways to her heart. Not long after, Sasuke disappeared from the village without a trace. Donzo Shimura would take the place of Hiruzen as the 5th Hokage. At first, it seemed war might be on the way, as Suna had been part of the attack against Konoha. But upon discovering that Rasa had always been killed, it was determined that both sides would set aside their differences and attempt to hunt and destroy Orochimaru. Eventually, the village began to rebuild. Thankfully, the Hyuga clan compound was spared during the onslaught, but the same was not true of Naruto's apartment, which was destroyed along with the rest. With nowhere else for him to go, Hinata would beg her father to let Naruto stay with them. After much convincing, Hiashi agreed. Hinata stood outside of the gate, waiting for Naruto to appear. In the distance, she saw that same flashy orange jumpsuit heading in their direction. As he made it there, she hugged him. "Welcome home, Naruto." Naruto looked around. "Are you sure this is okay with everyone? I don't want to put anyone out." Hinata smiled. "It's fine, don't worry about it. You're basically family anyway. Now how about I show you to your room?" Passing through the small compound, Naruto felt like he was sticking out like a sore thumb. His blonde hair was unique to him and nobody else, it seemed. Their way of dressing was always so formal and their attitudes so stuffy. Naruto had no idea if he could handle being like that all the time. He liked to get into trouble every once in a while, and etiquette was not his strong suit. He was messy, as Hinata knew, but now he knew why she was so quick to start cleaning his apartment when she visited. Must have been bred into her. As the two continued walking through the compound, they came to the clan head's house. "You mean I'm actually going to be staying at the clan head's house?" Naruto asked. Hinata nodded. "Yes, is there a problem?" Naruto shook his head. "No, I'm just surprised." She took him to his room to help get him situated. "This is where you'll be staying." Naruto put his bag down and then sat down on the bed. "Is there anything else you need?" she asked him. He shook his head. "No, I think I'm good." Hinata smiled and walked out the door. As she did, she felt like she might pass out. To have Naruto living in the same house as her, it was shaping up to be a dream come true. It was obvious to all who saw Hinata that she liked Naruto, but now all she wanted to do was see if Naruto liked her. Looking in for a moment, she began to think it was possible, but only time would tell. And that's where I plan on stopping the video for now. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was quite fun exploring the relationship between Naruto and Hinata. I could have made an entire video about that, but I thought it was best to push the story along. Considering that neither Sakura nor Naruto are connected to Sasuke, it seems that likely nobody would discover that he was gone. While Tenten has in the past shown some interest in Sasuke, literally every girl has. None of them quite so obsessively as Sakura though, so there's a good chance Sasuke leaves the village without her knowing, which means he and the Sound 4 get away under the radar. And without Naruto there to intervene, it's likely Tsunade is killed by Orochimaru and Kabuto. Without being on Team 7, Sasuke never learns Chidori, which means Gaara wins. A lot of things change, and I hope I stayed faithful enough to it. But what do you think? What would you like to see in the next video? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when more videos like this drop, and if you want something to tide you over, try one of these. Anyway, until next time, peace out.